how would you define innovation? Basically, it's just getting shit done.
Hello and welcome to KIIPSODES. I'm Jin, and today I'm excited to introduce Giles Thompson, currently the head of growth at Avoca. We're honored to have a talented innovator on KIIPSODES to show you a demonstration of their document automation software, which is already being used by leading companies such as Allen & Overy, Carlsberg, and Warner Media. If you missed our earlier Avoca Academy and are wondering what the process of document automation really looks like, stay tuned for all the answers in this KIIPSODE.
Thank you very much, Kips, for the invite to come do this demo of Avoca. Welcome to this KIIPSODE. So this KIIPSODE features us, Avoca. We're a document automation, collaboration, negotiation, and analytics platform. Well, what does that mean, and what does that mean for you in your future careers or even present careers as commercial lawyers? Well, what it means is taking documents or very often contracts, and instead of having to draft those manually, making that an automated process, and also making the negotiation process automated as well. So how do we do that? Well, what we do is we allow you to, or a law firm to update their standard form contracts and to upload those to our platform. And then in the platform, what we do in a really user-friendly way that I'm going to show is allow users to designate the areas of those contracts which need to be made bespoke each time a new iteration or version of that contract is drafted from the standard template by an end user. And once that's done, as I've sort of hinted at, the end user comes in. So that might be a trainee or indeed a junior lawyer at the firm. It may even be an in-house lawyer. They come into the platform and they use that pre-automated template to create a new draft. And all they do is they answer a questionnaire to extract all of the key commercial information needed to draft that contract. And what the system does is it takes all of that and then turns it into a first draft of the contract. Once that's done, many of our clients will collaborate with their colleagues and negotiate with counterparties in the platform, and I'll show you how that works. And then once all that's done, we also have the capacity for people to e-sign within the platform, which is becoming increasingly popular with remote working, and then run analytics to find lots of sort of data insights around all of those contracts which are negotiated within the platform. So without further ado, I'll show you around what we're looking at. So when you first jump into the platform, it's an online-based platform. What you see are four main areas. So the first area you land in is the My Documents area, and then you've also got the Analytics area, the Templates area, and the Create area. The My Documents area is essentially our draft repository area. So this is every document that is currently in play within our demo account here. So I can click into any of these, I can sort them into folders, and I can add labels as well. One thing that a number of our clients do is they also integrate this with their existing document management systems as well. So some of these documents will get sent out to other IT systems too, but this works just as well as a way to organize your documents. And now I'm going to move over to the Create tab, where we'll see what the end user will see when they log into the platform and want to draft a new version of one of their standard form documents. So I've gone over to the Create tab here. I'm going to choose an employment contract. Now, what I do is I click Start, select the employment contract. I can actually select multiple contracts if I want to. If there's a related suite of documents, for example, in a finance transaction, say there's board minutes, director certificates, shareholders resolutions and things, we can click multiple and actually have a mega questionnaire, which takes out all of our information to fill out all of those different documents all at once. But for now, I'm just going to answer one contract at a time. I'm just going to zoom out slightly as well so you can see the full contract. So I'm going to start inserting my information here. I'm going to start typing gobbledygook, and you can see that our name of our employer and our name of the employee and also the employee's address and their name is dropping in. So this on the right-hand side is what we call our placeholder automation. So this is automation which drops in verbatim or unadulterated. So, you can see the word here is dropping in that spot there on the front page of the contract and also in the parties clause here as well. Now, I'm going to sort of keep going through the questionnaire and answering different questions around this particular employment contract. Obviously, this is all gobbledygook, but it's just showing you that there's sort of different restrictions that you can put around what a sensible answer looks like in a given context. The next sort of automation that I want to describe to you is conditional automation. And now that relates to a clause, a section of a clause, or even a word that drops into a contract, depending on whether certain commercial criteria are met. So in this example, I hope everybody listening is familiar with employment contracts. You may not be if you're still a student, but imagine you've done some summer work at least. I've just clicked yes on the probation period here, yes, and now that's dropped in our probation period. And so what the commercial criteria we've set up is here, where the probation period has been selected, we need a probation period. But this is a really simple example. What we see with things like facility agreements is where an interest rate is sort of floating or fixed. The consequential drafting amendments, which are triggered within a document as a result of that, are absolutely enormous and sort of maybe hundreds, maybe even 1,000 different changes within the document, depending on how granular you are. So you can see there's loads more questions in this agreement, but in the interest of time and keeping your attention, I'm gonna move on and click done. So what's happening now is our first draft of the agreement is now loading up within our proprietary document collaboration platform. So at this point in time, you can actually take the document out if you want to. So you can download it as a Microsoft Word document, or you can also download it as a PDF document. Now, you're absolutely welcome to do that. But actually, at this point in time, I would, suggest that a lot of our clients gain a lot of value from actually collaborating within the platform. So you can actually start, marking up your agreement within the platform. And so I'm just doing silly little amendments here to random parts. But you can see that it's tracking what I'm doing on the right-hand side here, when I'm doing it, and actually the fact that it's me who's doing it. I can sort of scroll down and I can continue to do precisely that same sort of changes throughout. If I want to, there's also the opportunity for me to work with my colleagues as well. So if I want to, I can actually comment on a particular clause. So for example, because I haven't answered any of the questions in the questionnaire about the pensions clause hasn't dropped in, but let's just pretend I need advice on this. So I'm going to actually add my own account to this, but I could add any email address I want to in the world and ask them to help me on the document. And it's a little bit akin to some of the modern document collaboration tools, outside of the legal sphere, which you might be familiar with. So I'm just going to put, please advise, I can spell it correctly, and then I'm going to click sign. So once I've clicked that, an email, which I can configure in a custom manner, will go through to this particular person, and it will show them what they need to do. It'll invite them to come into our platform, see the change, and to make the amendments or to give the advice and to reply to the comment. This is really, really useful because it just cuts out the process of downloading a document, sending it via email to a colleague, and then them coming in and having to figure out which part of the document is relevant to them, or indeed scanning the whole thing. Everything we're doing in the platform is monitored. So this is showing what we've done today. I've logged in, I've answered the questionnaire, etc. Also, versions of the document automatically save the whole time. So anytime I click this manual save current version button, it will save. And anytime I actually send this document out to the counterparty, it will also save. In addition, it will save upon completion too. Now, there's a couple of other additional features on this page that I'd like to sort of go over with you. The sort of first, just want to quickly mention, is that we can actually go back to our question at any point during our collaboration or indeed our negotiations. So I can go back here, and let's say we didn't insert the probation clause. I could go back and actually insert that later. And what that will do is it will drop in all of the consequential drafting amendments in the relevant places automatically, but it will also preserve what will hopefully be much more careful bespoke drafting amendments. So you don't have to start again, even if the client changes their mind or one of the sort of commercial realities changes halfway through the deal. I'm just going to show you how we can actually add a user to the whole of the document. Now, if I click here, you can just add their email address, you can add their name, and then you can also put constraints around what permissions you want to give them. And this is really important from a legal compliance perspective. So let's say there's confidentiality concerns. What you can do is you can restrict the new person from from adding people. You can also, if they're sufficiently junior within the organization, you can prevent them from signing. If it's a real estate document, you can also require them to witness it. In terms of edit rights, if you want to restrict the counterparty who you could add in precisely the same method as this, from doing anything other than commenting or answering questionnaire items, which you can actually delegate to them. You might want to toggle one of these, or you can give them sort of unlimited editing rights. And in terms of your side of the table, you can also toggle who is able to manage the sending of the document to the other side, and also indeed accepting changes within the agreement. And colloquially, that's known as holding the pen. Within the legal sphere. So I'm just going to go back into our document in a moment and show you sort of the back end and what's happened in order for us to get to this point. So actually, before I do that, I'll just quickly mention that once you've done that collaboration piece, it's very, very simple. What you do is you add your counterparty in precisely the same way as you would add your collaborator, and then they receive an email asking them to come into the platform and take their turn on the document. They'll see the document, in piece. You won't be able to see the amendments they're making. They'll do their turn of the document. They'll then send the document back to you, and you will see a delta view or a red line, essentially a comparison of what you sent them versus what they've sent back to you within the document automatically. So you can see precisely which bits you need to pay attention to. And then once all that email ping pong is done, or I suppose, Avoca ping pong in this case, which is much more efficient, and clients can use our own proprietary e-signature tool, which we call Avoca Sign, in addition to be able to integrate with DocuSign and Adobe Sign in order to execute signatures electronically, which are becoming increasingly popular with increased remote working given the pandemic. But now I've just jumped into the templates area, and this is where we configure our automation. So this is, for the people who are particularly interested in law, this is, I think, one of the more interesting areas. So when you upload your standard precedent, if you're working at a law firm or on contracts otherwise, it will look something like this, and it will keep all of the styles and load it into our automation builder. Now it will show up in all white. It won't have any of this yellow, any of this orange, nor any of this green. Now what these colors represent, and you guessed it, is our automation. I'm just going to show you precisely how we would set that up and how it is currently set up. So just very quickly, I'm going to toggle over this employer name piece of writing here. And what that shows us is we've got a bit of automation here, and it's the placeholder. So that's indicating that this piece of information is a placeholder, i.e. it is ready to be stamped with bespoke information anytime a new draft of the agreement is created. The exact same goes for the employer address. Now, let's say I want to create a new placeholder, and let's say in this instance I want to create a new placeholder so I can vary the contract name each time a new draft of this agreement is created. So let's say I want to have the contract name as it shows up on the first page, but also on the front page, be automated. All I do is I highlight the contract name and I click Insert Placeholder. And I'm going to do it in this instance as well. So what that does is that's created a new question in the questionnaire, which relates to this particular space within the contract. And our answer to that will dictate which information gets dropped in here. It's as simple as that to set up placeholder automation. Now, our slightly more complex automation. I'm going to go over to the probation period here, which is clause 2.3. I'm going to scroll over, and you can see our little automation panel here. We've got a block condition, and this is how it's set up. So this is our choose a question column. So we've chosen the probation question. You can create a new one as well. You can create a custom one, but we've chosen the question relating to probation within the questionnaire. And where the answer to that question equals, we can toggle all these different logic options, but where it equals, and then we can toggle the answer that we want, yes. Where that answer to that question equals yes, this clause drops in. Now, that's really straightforward, but we can add extra conditions, and we can group those conditions as well if we want to, and if our contract requires that kind of sophistication. Also, if we've got conditions within conditions, we can toggle that as well. So this concerns probation extension lengths, which aren't relevant in all circumstances where there's a probation clause within a contract, and indeed it isn't relevant unless there is a probation clause of some kind. So the way that we've set that up is I'm going to look at the little automation tab here. You can see we've got a block condition and we've got an inline condition too. So we've got our block condition, which is the exact same one that's around the rest of the text. We've also got our inline condition. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. And that is our slightly darker green, more surgical amendment to the text that we've set up. So I'm going to go down to the question. We've got probation extension question. And where the answer to that equals yes, this will drop in. So that will drop in addition to the rest of the text within this, where the answer to that probation extension question is yes. And the extension length, if I click there, you can see we've actually got 3 layers of automation on this. So our placeholder here, will stamp on the answer that we give to a probation extension length question. And again, that will only be relevant where there is a probation period and there is a probation period extension. And that's how we've set that up. I'm just going to go to the questionnaire and show you the new question that we created. So here we go. Here's a new one about the contract name. If I go in, I can actually toggle the way that presents itself. I can retype it. I can also decide what a sensible answer looks like. So we can accept text, currencies, different yes/no buttons, drop-down lists, you name it, really. We can add hints as well to help out the people who are filling out the questionnaire. And we can also do something quite clever. So we can apply what's called a visibility condition. So, for example, our example of probation period extension, I've just clicked on that particular question. This will only show up where the answer to our probation question equals yes. And you can see our visibility condition there where we set that up. Now, I'm just going to fly through a couple of more elements of the platform just very quickly before time and inviting you to come get in contact and try it out for yourself. So we've got our operations area where you can do more complicated things. So say you've got a lease agreement or something, and within that lease agreement you need your overall headline rent to show up in words in addition to within numbers. You might want to only insert the numbers in your questionnaire, but you want different versions of, different sort of transformations of that information within your document. You can do it really quickly by, selecting your quantum. So let's just pretend that's our headline rent question, and that will automatically change that into words in your agreement. You can embed that within the agreement. Equally, if you don't want to manually input the deposit amount, you can do some maths within our operations area. So you could select the headline rent, again, pretend that's the headline rent, and then divide it by 10, say if your deposit is 10% of your headline rent in every lease agreement that you execute. We've also got our workflow area, which is, I think, going to impact the way that trainees work in the near future, either ours or one of our competitors. So if I select what I can do is I can select a trigger. So, for example, our first document being created, perhaps by a trainee in a private practice firm. And what we can do is we can set up an action in relation to that. So we can actually add, for example, a junior associate to the document every time an employment contract's created in order for them to review it. We can do other stuff as well. So, for example, let's say we can do a questionnaire trigger. So let's say one of the questionnaire items, so for example, the value of the employment agreement is over a certain threshold. We can set that up, the logic in the same way. We can add a particular participant or approver as well, so that only high value agreements are getting assistance. We've got a diagnostic area where we can actually scan the automation that we've set up to see whether or not the automation is set up correctly. And also it will make suggestions around things like our visibility conditions, so where the question should show up in all circumstances, and it will just help push us in the right direction. We've also got a live demo area, which is really, really helpful for when you're building your automation. And this will allow you to see all the different, iterations or permutations of the different types of results you can get from filling out your questionnaire in different ways. So I'm just going to stick with our probation period example, and you can see I've clicked yes there, and that's dropped in. If I now click, can they be extended? Yes, you can see that our extension bit is filled in, but actually we haven't got our information about how long the extension should be. If I fill out that, it's 6 months. So there you go. You can see how that's working. And just very quickly, I'm going to show you how some of the other areas not work, but where they are, I suppose. We've got a clause library, so you can manually manage your standard clauses. So, for example, if you have confidentiality clauses across all of your agreements, you can manage them here instead of managing them in each of your different templates, and you can update them in one place. And we've got a number of other sort of central data management and efficiency tools here as well. In addition, we also have our analytics, which I'll cover really quickly. And this is where we can do a sample of our different contracts negotiated within the platform. And then we can apply filters. So, for example, in this case, I've chosen 13 different templates and all the drafts created from those. But I've said I only want those with payment terms that are in advance as opposed to in arrears. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. And, my name's Giles Thompson. Please get in touch with me if you want to try out the platform or if you have any questions whatsoever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giles, for sharing a wonderful insight into how Avoca platform is used in drafting a contract. Stay tuned for a very interesting podcast featuring Avoca coming soon on KIIPSODES. If you want more bite-sized content like this, please do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to follow our KIIPS social media for updates on what we're doing. All our links are in the description box below. We would love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments how you found this episode and what other topics you'd like us to explore. See you on our next episode of KIIPSODES.